Hare Krishna, Namaste. Chapter 15 is entitled as Purushottama Vidya, Purushottama Yogam. Sloka 6, Part 4. Na tat bhāsayate sūryo, na śaśāṅko na pāvakaḥ, yad gatvā na nivartante, dhāma paramaṁ. That supreme abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So far, we have learnt that the spiritual world is ajada, which means it is capable of being cognized or recognized without the need for any other tool, any other things like light, sun, moon, etc. That spiritual world is parak. That is, it is not capable of cognizing itself. It is ajada because it doesn't require another aid to be recognized that it is the spiritual world. But the spiritual world by itself do not cognize. Therefore, it is parak, and the spiritual world is achit, which means it does not possess knowledge. That spiritual world is made of Shuddha Sattva, which is free of any traces of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And the spiritual world is a place where avidya, that is, all the karmas, are completely eradicated. And we also learned that there are 5 elements which is made of Shuddha Sattva, namely Parameshti, Puman, Vishvaha, Nivrittaha and Sarvaha. They are the Pancha Divya Bhutams in the spiritual world. They are known by Pancha Upanishad Mayaha or Pancha Shakti Mayaha. How do we know that the spiritual world does exist? It is mentioned in the Upanishad. Now, what we need to learn is where is that spiritual world located. We understand where the Prakriti is because we are within the Prakriti. But is the spiritual world located below the Prakriti, or to the right of the Prakriti, or to the left of the Prakriti, or on top of the Prakriti? Because there is nothing else other than Prakriti and the spiritual world. Therefore, they have to fit in within this configuration. In the scriptures, it is said, this spiritual world is Jnanananda Maya Lokaha, that is, full of jnana and ananda, knowledge and bliss. Therefore, one who attains the spiritual world, Nitya Vibhuti, will also have full knowledge and full bliss. We have learned in chapter 14 that Sattva Guna gives knowledge and happiness. But Sattva Guna in this world, since it is mixed with Rajoguna and Tamoguna, the knowledge and happiness is not fully experienced. That is, if we consider an object of this world, take anything, that which gives us happiness, it does, but also it will give us distress because the object of this world is mixed with 3 gunas. It is not purely Sattva Guna. But in the spiritual world, the objects are purely made of sattva guna. Therefore, all we get all the time in the spiritual world is simply happiness and knowledge. That's all. This is why that place is called Vaikunta, a place which is free of miseries. That is, since this spiritual world, which is known by name Nitya Vibhuti, is made up of the substance, dravya, called Shuddha Sattva, and since that dravya possesses only Sattva Guna, and since Sattva Guna has the nature to cultivate Jnana and Sukham, that is knowledge and happiness, pleasure, this world itself, this world meaning the spiritual world, itself known as Jnanamaya and Anandamaya, since it grows knowledge and pleasure in us. Therefore, this Sloka, the spiritual world, is known as Jnana Anandamaya Lokaha. So, that world which is made of Shuddha Sattva, which gives Jnana and Ananda, where is it located? It is said in the Upanishad that Aditya Varnam Tamasaha Parastat, that the spiritual world is above the tamas, that refers to the Lila Vibhuti, that is the material world. It is above the material world, above the Prakriti. And what is the size of the spiritual world? It is limitless as per the Upanishad. The Lila Vibhuti is also limitless. Both Lila Vibhuti, the material world, and Nitya Vibhuti, which is the spiritual world, both of them are limitless in their size. However, since the Upanishad says that the Nitya Vibhuti exists beyond and above the Lila Vibhuti, we can conclude that the Nitya Vibhuti is limitless upward. It keeps going upward. There is no limit. And on the sidewise, right, left, and so forth, there is no limit bound. It keeps going. But the Nitya Vibhuti has a bound below by the Lila Vibhuti, because at one point the Nitya Vibhuti has to end below, so the Prakriti, the Lila Vibhuti, can start. Now if we see the Lila Vibhuti, it is limitless again downwards. It keeps going. We can't find the end of it. And on the sides, there's no limit like the Nitya Vibhuti. Keeps going. But it is bounded above, because on the top the Nitya Vibhuti is there. Between the Lila Vibhuti and Nitya Vibhuti, there is a river which runs, known as Viraja Nadi. That Viraja is the dividing line between the spiritual world and the material world. So what we can understand from here is both Lila Vibhuti and the Nitya Vibhuti are limitless in size. But the material world has a stop on the top, because it has to stop so the spiritual world can begin. But the material world does not have any limits, limitless, towards downward or sidewise. Likewise, the spiritual world, Lila Vibhuti, is limitless on top, upward and sidewise, but below it is bound by the Viraja Nadi, because across the Viraja Nadi the material world begins. So from this we can understand the spiritual world is above the Prakriti the spiritual world is limitless, like the material world, which is also limitless. But there is another interesting point to be noted. Even though both the worlds are limitless, it is said that the material world is 1/4 of the Lord's property, and the 3/4 is the spiritual world. Pādosya vishvā bhūtāni tripada shamratam divi. That is, Pādosya, this material world is 1/4 in size. Tripada asya amritam divi. Amritam refers to the spiritual world. That spiritual world is 3/4 of the Lord's property. Just now we learned both the worlds, Nitya Vibhuti and Leela Vibhuti, are limitless or infinite. Then how come the Shastra says that the Leela Vibhuti is 1/4 and the spiritual world is 3/4? Here we should not take the literal meaning that the size of spiritual world is exactly 3 times bigger than the Leela Vibhuti, since both have been said already that they are infinite. Then how do we understand this Upanishad statement of 1/4 and 3/4? It simply means that Leela Vibhuti is infinite, but compared to the Nitya Vibhuti, it is smaller in size, but it is also infinite. May be confusing. How can two things which are infinite, one can be smaller in size, another one can be bigger in size? Let's take example of those things which we are familiar with, and then we can try to understand that which are not familiar to us. We have 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air and ether. For simplicity purpose, let's leave water, fire, air and ether and take earth as an example, which is known as Prithvi. If we consider things that are made of Prithvi, earth, there are many things. Mud is a Prithvi. Gold is a Prithvi. Iron is a Prithvi. Cotton is a Prithvi. Stone is a Prithvi. Tree is a Prithvi. With mud, we can make bricks, we can make buildings, etc. With gold, we can make gold ring, golden chain, golden bangle, and many things. Likewise, with the iron, we can make so many things. From cotton, we can make so many things. Likewise, with stones and trees, so forth. So, if we have to start counting the number of things that are made of sand, number of things that are made of gold, iron, cotton, we cannot complete the count. Therefore, we say it is infinite. We will not be able to successfully count a number of things that are made of gold, tree, mud, and so forth. Therefore, easy way of saying the count is things that are made of sand are infinite. Things that are made of trees are infinite. Because all these are infinite, we cannot say that things that are made of gold is greater, bigger than the things that are made of iron. We can never say that. Now let's go one step above. We saw gold, mud, cotton, iron, wood, and the things that were made by respective of these items. or countless. If we have to group all these different things that we saw into one, then gold is Prithvi, mud is Prithvi, cotton is Prithvi, iron is Prithvi, tree is also Prithvi. Therefore, they all can very well said Prithvi. Now the question that we need to ask is the things that are made of sand is greater in number, or that which is made of Prithvi is greater in number? We know that the sand is within Prithvi, it is Prithvi, but it is not all in all. There are other things also which are Prithvi. So obviously the answer to the question whether the things that are made of sand are in greater in number, or the things that made of Prithvi is greater in number. Answer is because Prithvi includes sand, gold, iron, cotton, wood, etc. It is greater in number. Though we just saw that both the things are infinite. Things that made of sand are infinite. Things that made of gold are infinite. But they are less in number when compared to the things that are made of Prithvi, the earth. I hope this makes sense. Simply we understand that these materials are subset of Prithvi. Therefore, Prithvi consists of all these materials. Though individually these materials, sand, tree, iron, gold, etc., are infinite, but when we take a superset, which is the Prithvi, which includes all these things, is bigger infinite. Likewise, the Nitya Vibhuti, the spiritual world, is bigger compared to Leela Vibhuti, which is smaller. And that is all this statement says. Padosya Vishwa Bhutani Tripadasyaamritam Divi. That the material world is 1/4 in size and the spiritual world is 3/4 in size. This is to give us an idea about the spiritual world, which is much bigger in infinity than the material world's infinity. And this spiritual world, which is the abode of the Supreme Lord, is not illumined by the sun or moon or fire or electricity, because it is said Niravadika Tejo Rupam, that is, the Nitya Vibhuti is said to be extremely luminous, so much so that it could make the sun appear dark. Before that limitless radiance of the spiritual world, every other luster shrinks into insignificant thing, just like a firefly before that of a sun. It is said that this paramaṁ, the spiritual world, which is the abode of Vishnu, is more resplendent than the sun, and so it is impossible for even devas and asuras to look upon it. In the Kathopanishad, it is said, Na tatra sūryo bhāti, na chandra tarakam, nema vidyuto bhanti, kutoyam agnihi, tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam, tasya bhāsa sarvamidam vibhati. This describes the spiritual world, that the sun does not shine there, nor do the moon or stars shine, nor does lightning shine. How then can fire shine or burn? It is simply because of the Supreme Lord, His effulgence, that these things get their power of illumination. And this is exactly what is covered in this sloka. To summarize, Nitya Vibhuti is unlimited in size. Leela Vibhuti is also unlimited in size. But compared to the Leela Vibhuti, which is the material world, the Prakriti, the spiritual world is much, much bigger in size. As the Upanishad says, the spiritual world is 3/4 in size and the material world is 1/4. It is just to convey an idea to us that the spiritual world is hundreds and thousands of times, it's unlimitedly bigger than the material world, which is unlimited but smaller compared to the spiritual world. Therefore, it is not just 3 times bigger. It's like when we read the scripture, we find there are certain numbers of avatars of the Lord are mentioned. But the Lord's avatars are not limited by that number. There are many and many avatars. Also, if we take Vishnu Sahasranama, which is 1000 names of Vishnu has been mentioned, but that doesn't mean the Lord only has 1000 names. Also, in another place in the Upanishad, it says Sahasra Sirsha Purushaha. The Lord has 1000 heads. But again, He is not limited by just 1000 heads. He has unlimited heads, unlimited hands, and so forth. But these numbers are just to give some idea how great the Lord is. Likewise, the Lord's property, which is the Nitya Vibhuti, is not just 3 times bigger. It is just to give an idea, it is bigger compared to the Prakriti. Another easy way to understand is, we know that the Akash, the sky, is unlimited. But the fact is, this unlimited Akash is within this Prakriti. Prakriti, from there Mahan, from Mahan Ahankara, from Ahankara, Tamasa Ahankara, and the Tamasa Ahankara comes Panchabhuta, and one of the Bhuta element, material element, is Akasha, the sky, the space. That also we can understand falls under the Prakriti. It is not beyond the Prakriti. And this spiritual world is above that Prakriti, which is unlimitedly bigger in size compared to the Prakriti. And also we learned that the Nitya Vibhuti is extremely luminous. What we are going to learn in the next session about the spiritual world is another interesting topic. Whether the inhabitants of the spiritual world has bodies or not. If they have bodies, what is it made up of? And why do they need body over there? Let's wait to learn that from the next session. Namaste. Hare Krishna.